All right, let's take a deeper dive on the contaminated eye products, bringing in former FDA Associate Commissioner Peter Pitts. Peter, thank you so much for being with us. This is really terrifying. You know, when you get sick, we're always told to wash our hands, don't rub our eyes, don't touch our eyes. So this is something that's put right into the eye. How is it possible people are still using these products when the FDA faulted the manufacturer for multiple violations and then also banned imports into the U.S.?
Well, in fairness to the FDA, there's a lot of noise out there on a whole variety of issues. And that doesn't mean people shouldn't be paying attention. And especially when you're putting something directly in your eye, you should be aware of who's making the product, what the FDA and the CDC have to say about that product, and take the appropriate action. You mentioned the various problems the FDA found. They also asked the company to give them records, which the company wouldn't even give them. And shortly after the FDA recalled the product, the Indian version of the FDA did a surprise inspection of this facility. So these are bad players. But it also speaks to the lack of coordination between the CDC and the FDA relative to communicating with the public and with eye care professionals. And that's got to change. Shame on us for letting it reach this point where people die and go blind because the appropriate actions on the part of our agencies from a communications perspective hasn't really taken place.
Well, absolutely, Peter. I mean, is that lack of communication, that lack of coordination? Because, again, the CDC first reported problems with these products last month. So why this seeming delay in warning users? And then on top of that, should these online retailers hold some responsibility, too? Because they're the ones selling the products.
That's a real hornet's nest relative to online retailing of medical products. I think that people shouldn't do it. You know, it's convenient, sure. It can be less expensive, sure, but a bargain can oftentimes be too expensive. And for the people that went blind, and for the one person who died, saving money by buying products over the internet certainly was not a good deal. It speaks to the need for larger education, certainly, but also a much more robust oversight of medical products, whether they're RX products or OTC products like the eye drops. Federal agencies need to have much more power to make sure that those products that are online are as safe and effective as those that are coming directly out of brick and mortar pharmacies.
Absolutely, because when you're ordering those things, you don't really know what's going to show up at your door. Just because it's in packaging doesn't mean it is what it says it is. Peter, go ahead.
Where it even comes
exactly,
from.
or where it's really coming from.
That's why when people talk about importing drugs from Canada or other countries, it's Russian roulette and it's a bad bet.
Absolutely. So Peter, who's responsible for regulating these products that when they're manufactured outside of the U.S., do they have to adhere to our medical standards here in the U.S.?
They absolutely do. Any product, whether it's an RX product or an OTC product that's sold in the U.S. and manufactured abroad, has to be manufactured on an FDA-approved manufacturing line. That plant needs to be FDA compliant. That's what good manufacturing practices mean. Unfortunately, in many other countries, in this case, we're talking about India, their view of following the regulations is more of a suggestion than a requirement. And that's something the FDA has to deal with seriously. And it goes beyond issuing hundreds of millions of dollars in fines, which the FDA has done with Indian companies. It means that these companies have to get with the program. That if they want to sell products in the U.S., they have got to follow the rules. Full stop.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.